So we're going to learn a new tense. Not an ideal way to learn a new tense since you're at home, but the imperfect tense. We spent most of the year learning the preterite tense, but there are actually two past tenses, and they can be used in different situations. We're definitely not going to focus on when to use the preterite and when to use the imperfect. We're learning them separately for now. I will teach you next year about when to use each one. So the imperfect tense, it is a past tense. We know that there are two past tenses, the preterite, which we already learned this year, and the imperfect, el pretérito, el imperfecto. So this is what we already learned the preterite tense. We used it to talk about the past before. We actually used it to talk about completed actions. Here's some examples of the preterite tense you learned already this year. Ana cantó en la fiesta. Anna sang at the party last night. But the imperfect tense is another way to talk about the past. We use it to describe actions without any indication of their beginning or the end. Right now, you don't have to understand when to use it. You're just going to be using it. Everything that we're doing from now on, I'm going to have you do in the imperfect tense. You're just going to be using the imperfect tense because I said so. Ana cantaba, possible English translation. Anna was singing. Anna used to sing. And there's no indication of the beginning or the end. It's an ongoing action, kind of like a wave. That's when you'd use the imperfect. But like I said, what's really important is how do you conjugate it. So I'm going to skip past this because we'll go into more depth with this next year about when to use it. What's really important is how to form it. So for AR verbs, how do you conjugate an AR verb in the imperfect tense? Well, you just drop the AR and you add the endings aba, abas, aba. Abamos, see the accent there? Abais, aban. So if the verb was caminar, I drop the AR and I'm left with camina. Okay, and I say caminaba, caminabas, caminaba, caminabamos, caminabais, caminaban. I like this. It sounds funny. I like the way you conjugate it, like hablar. Hablaba, hablabas, hablaba, llamar. Llamaba, llamabas, llamaba, llamabamos, llamabais, llamaban. It's fun to say. It's my favorite tense because it's so fun and it's super easy. Wait till you see how easy it is. Remember the preterite had so many irregulars? Oh no, the imperfect only has 3. Okay, so here it is, all conjugated out. Caminaba, caminabas, caminaba, caminabamos, caminabais, caminaban. And hey, look at that, it has an accent. There's no longer an accent in the vosotros form. The nosotros form has an accent. No other forms of this verb have an accent except for the nosotros form. Check that out. For AR verbs, okay? But for now, since the yo and the LA said forms are now the same, you have to use subject pronouns. So, hey, Hannahology, that one's for you. Remember how you always ask, can we put the yo or can it be implied? Now you're no longer to imply that yo. You have to write the yo and you have to write the LAU instead because they are the same, okay? That's why from the beginning when I teach Spanish 1, I just tell my kids, write the subject because later on you're going to have to. In real life, when you get onto the streets of Spanish, you can start figuring out when you can imply something or not. But you have to say the subject here, else they'll be confused because they're the exact same conjugation. Okay, so let's look at patinar. Patinaba, patinabas, patinaba, patinabamos, patinabais, patinaban. Usar, usaba, usabas, usaba, usábamos, usabais, usaban. Okay, jugar. Jugaba, jugabas, jugaba, jugábamos, jugabais, jugaban. So jugar normally is a stem changing verb. It'd be juego, right? J-U-E. So one thing to know here is the imperfect tense doesn't have any irregulars except for the 3 that I show you. So you don't have to worry about stem changes and stuff anymore, okay? And ER and IR endings. So we just learned the AR endings. How do you conjugate verbs that end in ER or IR? If it ends in an ER or IR, you drop the ER or the IR and you add ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, ian. And all of the I's have accents. You notice that? All of them have accents. Ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, ian. And all have accents. So comia, comias, comia, comíamos, comiais, comían. And they all have accents on the I. Vivir, vivia, vivias, vivia, vivíamos, viviais, vivían. This is my favorite tense because it's super easy. There are only 3 irregulars. If you think back to the preterite, gosh, there were so many irregulars. There were UGIs, there were stem changes, there were the super completely irregulars. But no, the imperfect tense, I'm glad that we're teaching this when you're out and not some other more complicated tense, because this one only has 3 irregulars. The 3 irregulars are ir, to go, ser, to be, and ver, to see. And they have to be memorized because they're irregular. So ir, to go, is iba, ibas, iba. Ibamos, there's an accent on that I there. Ibais, iban. So there's no accents on that verb except for ibamos on the I. Iba, ibas, iba. Ibamos, ibais, iban. And then ser, to be, era, eras, era. Éramos, erais, eran. Accent on that I in éramos. Ver, to see, it's actually pretty irregular, except for instead of dropping the ER, you're just dropping the R. So it's veía, accent. Veías, accent. Veía, accent. Veíamos, accent. Veíais, accent. And veían, accent. They all have the accent over the I because they're pretty much regular endings. The only thing that's kind of irregular there is the stem. So these are 2 questions that we'll be focusing on. So remember how you did the go formative with speaking? You can count on having a go formative with speaking with these 2 questions. The first question is, ¿Qué hacías cuando eras niño or niña? What did you do when you were a child? So these are some examples I wrote down from the other years. Jugaba afuera, jugaba a los videojuegos, montaba en bicicleta, comía